Hey everybody, what is up? How are you? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I'm Boleyn and I do little kind of tea or commentary videos over here, as well as makeup videos. So if that sounds like something you'd be into, then maybe you'd like to subscribe. You don't have to, no pressure. But let's get into this one today, because girl, this one has been all over TikTok for like the last 5-6 days, I want to say, and it's been going off. First thing that I saw about any of this was when I saw OF creator Rebecca Goodwin upload a little video to her TikTok where she was really visibly upset, crying and talking about how she'd just been on a podcast for free with 3 guys. Now, I'm not going to name the podcast because I just think that's a little sneaky dig at them to not name them. So she went on this podcast. She drove 3 hours to go on this podcast for free. And then they basically really disrespected her. So I watched the podcast, and as soon as she was on there, they're like, oh, ho number one, like this. And they were just really disrespectful, nasty to her, talking over her the whole time, wouldn't let her get a word in edgeways. Just really, really nasty, and telling her that like OF is disrespecting her children and all of this. And I was like, really? In 2025 we're doing this? I mean, for me it looked a lot like they just couldn't stand a woman who was financially independent and could do things to give back to her community in ways that they absolutely can't.
So I've just driven 3 hours, or I've been driven 3 hours to Croydon to do a podcast, okay? Now, this was an unpaid podcast. I thought I was helping people out. I was happy to come all this way with no payment whatsoever to try and, be in with the scene. And when I got there, it was 3 men in their apartment, and they sat me down. They showed me a patch of water on their sofa where they made the last guest squirt. They then decided to talk over me the whole podcast so that I couldn't say anything. They told me that I was a waste of space and I did nothing for society. I mean this with all disrespect, the reality check show, but I paid £238,000 in tax last year. What the fuck did your podcast do for society? You know what, it's really funny because one of the guys that was there is literally an OnlyFans model, and all they do is drag OnlyFans girls down to absolutely rip them to shit. Now, I am very, very lucky that someone decided to bring me here today, because I was going to come on my own, thinking it would be like a proper studio and everything, but it wasn't. It was just 3 horrible men that decided to rip me to shit and refuse to let me speak. Now, their views on women as a whole is just horrible, because as I was sat there waiting, I was a little bit late, so they said, for the next podcast girl, they said, oh, I better let this bitch know that we're going to be late. I mean, they've already been demonetized on YouTube, which I'm glad about, but I hope nobody subscribes to their new Patreon.
Today, guys, we need some help from all of you. We have been demonetized on YouTube, so we literally don't earn anything from these videos anymore. We need your support to keep this channel going, so we've got a Patreon, link down below.
Because they are literally horrible, horrible, toxic men bringing women in. They even said they never get any views when it's men. They told me to wear a slutty outfit, and they just ripped me to shit. And now I just have to go back home. And they made me sign the model release form before, which should have been a red flag. But they've just shared me crying on Instagram to promote them. Like, I've been on so many podcasts, guys, and I can take banter, I can take a joke, but that was me sat on my own with 3 men being bullied.
One really cool thing that came out of this podcast that I never knew about Rebecca was that she does this whole affordable housing scheme. So she's buying houses with money that she's earned from OF, renting them out to families who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford to rent those properties. So this is really cool. Like, from someone like me who's from a council house, this, where I live right now, is a council house. I was raised in this house my whole entire life. I'm from a working class family. So to see Rebecca doing that, it really, really warms my heart, honestly. And also, it reminds me of my mum. You know, my mum at one point was a single mum, taking care of me, my brother, you know, 2 kids. She was going to work at a retail job, providing for us. And there are qualities that I see in Rebecca that I see in my mum as well. And when I look at Rebecca, I'm seeing her as a woman who's just doing the best for her 2 kids. And not only that, she's excelling, she's succeeding, she's becoming a millionaire. You know, she's doing this affordable housing scheme, which is helping people. She's paying huge amounts of tax. And these guys on this podcast had the nerve to talk over her, not let her speak, disrespect her. And all the women on TikTok have decided to put their 2 pence in and have their say, because honestly, everyone is on Rebecca's side with this. I have not seen anyone on the podcast guys' side.
I'm doing the affordable housing scheme, which is where I buy property outright, usually like 2-bedroom terrace, and we rent them out, me being me and my business partner, we rent them out to people that are low income families for prices like £450 a month for a 2-bed.
Apart from the things you're doing with charity and that, which is really good, by the way, what are you actually contributing to society with the work that you do?
The tax bill,
forget about the tax
but
bill.
that is what makes society run.
Some people are doing things
Why does my job have to contribute to society? My job is contributing to making sure that me and my kids are okay. I'm paying tax. I'm paying tax. I pay enough tax to pay 30 people, 30 nurses' wages a year.
Like other countries.
You know what? I'm going to get off now. You lot, the rest of us, I've given that.
What? We was only joking.
Rebecca was recently on a podcast where they wouldn't let her get a word in edgeways. So if you don't know Rebecca, she is an incredibly popular OF content creator. She earns a lot of money on the platform, as she should, but she comes from, sadly, a very troubled background. As Rebecca earned more from the platform, she decided that she wanted to help low-income families. So what she has done is launched an affordable housing scheme. She's always been very transparent about how she plans to do this, buying properties outright and then renting them to families that might be struggling in the cost of living crisis. Now, if you're not familiar with Rebecca's story, she started her OF account in times of desperation. She was struggling to keep food on the table for her 2 daughters, and they were living off of food vouchers. So Rebecca is not just someone that is doing this for clout, she is doing this for families where she has been there herself and knows the struggle. Haters are going to hate, and like anything, Rebecca has received criticism for what she's doing, but she's explained that she earns enough money to live off of from her OF accounts, and renting these houses out to low-income families is more to set up an inheritance for her daughters. The houses that she has purchased are going to be fully furnished for the people that are living in them, and the rent prices are low for the size of the houses, the fact that they are fully furnished and they are fully paid off, so these tenants are not contributing towards a mortgage, etc. Now, wouldn't this have been something really interesting to learn from the recent podcast that Rebecca was on? Because let's be honest, I have never heard of an OnlyFans content creator giving back to their community like this. I think this is super admirable, really inspirational, and honestly, just so interesting to learn about Rebecca. She is definitely not someone I would look down on, talk over, or laugh at. I think Rebecca is an incredibly strong and resilient woman, and I wish her so much success. Like, I support every single woman who are taking up careers and space in things that they want to do.
Here's the thing that really got me about all this. It came out that one of the guys on the podcast, one of the hosts, actually was charged with rape a few years ago. So he was charged with rape, yet he's here criticising Rebecca, saying that she's disrespecting her children and everything like this, when he's a rapist.
Just want to come on here and talk about a lot of the misinformation that is being spread about a case that I went through. So in 2013, when I was 17 years old, I was falsely accused of... 2 years later, I was asked to come to court to enter my plea, not guilty. This is why the article that a lot of people have read have twisted it and made it out as if I was 19 and she was 16, when I was 17 and she was 16, as it took 2 years for the courts to ask me to come and enter a plea. After a trial at the Croydon Crown Court on the 29th of August in 2016, I was acquitted of all charges and found completely not guilty. Now, do with this as you wish. I'm sure people have already made their minds up about me, but that is the truth and the fact, and I just needed to share my side of the story.
In this brief podcast, there was another moment where I really agreed with what Rebecca said as well. They were talking about like female bodily hair, and the guys, of course, were being guys. They were being disrespectful, being disgusting, saying that it's ugly for women to have body hair and all of this. And Rebecca was, defending women, saying no, it's personal choice. Women can choose what they want to do with their bodies. And these guys are just, again, talking over her. No, not letting her get a word in. And she's there trying to just defend women and say, no, it's not ugly. It's preference. And then she starts talking about how, people without bodily hair can look like a child. And this is something that I always think about, like people without bodily hair haven't gone through puberty, and that's the point that Rebecca was making. So guys who are specifically looking for people without bodily hair, it's like, are you looking for prepubescent children then?
Are dictating and saying all women that don't shave their are unattractive, all women should shave their armpits. That is when, I hate to say this, but it is crossing the line of pedophilia.
What are you talking
Because
about?
it is.
That is mental. How are you saying that is the same as pedophilia? It's got nothing to do with pedophilia.
What is the difference between a child and a woman?
It's a child.
Puberty! The only people on this planet that naturally have bald and bald armpits are kids.
Can we not get into that?
No, because
your opinion would hold a lot more weight if you didn't shave everything on your body.
But that's a preference. Again, it's a preference. Yeah, men. When men say that is unattractive on a woman for you to have hair, right? That is your preference. So you would go for somebody that doesn't have a hairy pussy.
Basically, you're saying the only difference between a child and a grown woman is hair.
For a man to say any woman that has hair is basically you saying I am against puberty.
No, it's not.
I don't know about you, but all this situation did for me was make me respect Rebecca. I just really think she's awesome. She's providing for her kids. She's working hard. She's not sat at home doing nothing. She's not playing the victim. Yet these guys are very much playing the victim, talking down on women, and it's gross. It's disgusting. Typical misogynist pricks, if you ask me. Anyway, I'm going to leave this little video right here. I'm going to say take care, stay safe, stay well. I love you guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.